Hello, everybody. Hey, Dario, clip this. Are you ready? Clip this. Dario, clip this. Starting now. Ready? Watch. Hold on. Hold on. Everyone just hold on a second. Trust me on this. Just trust me. I'm back, bitches! Ooh! Oh, 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 ah, ah, ah. Okay. It's good to be back. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's been doing well. Let me get some water here. Ah, goodness. It's been a long time. I thought we would slowly get back into the swing of things here. Today, let's just wait a few minutes and see if we can get a few people in here. Ah, God. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot of fun we're going to have today. It's been a long time. I'm glad to be back. Sort of. I just felt like it was important to do something. We've not done a live stream in quite a while, so I thought that there was some value in coming together and on each other and just doing something that people still have a lot of trouble with, evidently. So let's see if I can't do something to kind of help with people who are having trouble with this system. We'll just wait a few minutes here. Oh, I missed you too, Maku-chan. God bless you. By the way, is the microphone of poor quality right now? Does it not sound great? Let me know if the microphone sounds okay. Oh, it's muffled by noise cancellation. Really? Okay, let's just take a quick look at that. Okay. Oh, that's ridiculous. Okay, give me just a second. Sounds like a laptop microphone. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. Nope. Okay. Ooh! Wait a minute. This isn't right. Okay, it's not pulling from the right microphone. It's pulling from my webcam microphone. That is ridiculous. Alright, give me just a second.
Okay, now this should be much better. Let me know if this improved the audio quality. Hi. Hi, Daddy. Okay. I think that should remedy our audio quality issues. So let me turn this off. Okay, so the audio quality should be substantially better now. Let me just sort of mount myself here. Okay, we got a few people coming in. It's been about 6 years since we've done this, so that's okay. There we go. Okay, so curious to know how many of you out there have actually done an xStation installation. And how many of you have done a PS1Digital installation? And how many of you are out there that are interested in doing either? I'm just curious. Oh, real quick, how's the MP3 music in the background? Is it legible? Is it too loud? Too quiet in proportion to my voice? Am I too loud? Am I too quiet? Let's just adjust this a little bit here. Okay. I just upped the music just a little bit, but nonetheless, I still get a ton of people who come to me to say that they're having trouble. They have butchered several PlayStations in order to try to install either the xStation or the PS1Digital. So clearly there's still some huge disconnects, and understandably so, because this is not easy stuff. These two modifications in particular can land you in some pretty deep hot water pretty fast. So I thought we would go over this again. I would do a live interactive, that way you know that there are no special cuts, or I'm not doing 1,000 takes to make things look the way that they look. I thought we would do this in real time, as I've done in the past plenty with this system on these live streams, but it's been a while. Let's just go through it. Let's just go through the whole Unitarian, and let's just make this work. How is this camera, by the way? Is this camera okay? I mean, the idea is to kind of see my face and see my hands of what I'm doing, but also a little bit of the work. Is it okay? Can you see everything there? Now, this isn't going to be a quick video. I'm actually going to be stopping a lot to really drill down into some very intricate detail so that I can hopefully articulate, or at least put into diction, some of the traps that new players fall into, to quote the critically acclaimed Dave Jones of what's that show called? The Eve blog? To quote him, new players fall into the same traps over and over again. So I'm going to be slowing down a lot of the stuff, and we're going to be really taking everything line by line. Now, are we ready to get started, or should we wait just another minute or two? You guys tell me. I need a water. Sorry about that, I had to get a water. I'll be that guy. If you're messing the station mod up, you're not skilled enough, or using the right... Yes. E.W. Rooney, those are fair things to say. But fortunately, both of those points that you've made can be remedied quickly. All of this is just a patience game. That's all this is. It's just a matter of patience and committing yourself to the idea that you're not going to be perfect the first time around. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. This stuff just doesn't come easy to me. This stuff doesn't really come easy to anybody. It's all about repetition. Having said that, let me just sort of scoot up in my chair here. Zims asks, Lord Commander, Lieutenant Admiral, have you worked on many OG Xboxes? That's all I ever used to work on 12 years ago. Hello, Yura. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Now, I've not Halo Slayer. I've not played Evil Zone or the G-Spot Police. I haven't. Let's start with some basic equipment discussions. First of all, I'm going to take this camera that I'm pointing at, and I'm going to manipulate it so that we can talk about equipment. Now, soldering equipment is very important. Now, and if you guys remember, several years ago, give me just a second here, several years ago, I discussed introductory soldering stations that are cheap, very effective, and as far as I'm concerned, very high quality for the price. I'm always asked, Voultar, you made that video years ago shilling these stations. Do you even use them? Guys, I have used these Kescher 3.1 and 2.1S firmware-based soldering stations for years now, ever since I did my video on it. I have Hako equipment. I have thousands and thousands of dollars invested in expensive equipment. And you know what? My old Hako 808 and my two Kescher stations are the only soldering devices that I use. Period. I have my... Oh, thank you, Necro Banana. Thank you for your super chat. And thank you for the follow. God bless you and your family, Newman. The Kestra soldering stations are anywhere between $50 and $70. I have a link in a video where you can get high quality versions of this that I have from Banggood, and that link is still valid. I'll see if I can't find somebody. Hey, Dario, can you go to that video and find that link from Banggood? Could you do that for me and share that in the chat? At any rate, these stations are phenomenal. Now, I have two set up here, and they stack beautifully, just as you see. I have one station set to 330 degrees Celsius, and I have one station set to 350 degrees Celsius, a little bit hotter. Generally speaking, I use two different kinds of tips. Now, I'm sorry about this. I'm going to fix this. Let me fix this real quick. Okay, let me just sort of get this back in position here, doggy style. Okay. Now, I use two different sorts of tips. I like to use this J-Series hooked tip that you're seeing right here. I use this tip for drag soldering, for spot work, for contacting techniques, everything. Everything that is small and minute, this J-Series tip, as far as I'm concerned, is the best general purpose tip available. And let me just talk about tips. It's like, do you not have a lot of experience with other soldering tips, Voultar? Let me show you guys something. I have nothing but experience with a plethora of soldering tips and soldering devices. I use them all, and they all have a certain utility, and they all have a certain application. I'm not saying that other tips aren't worthwhile or valuable tools. I'm just saying all of these tips, I can pretty much do 80% of everything with my J-Series hook tip. That's all I'm saying. Now, for drag soldering and for larger work where there are large ground pores or there are a lot of energy depriving zones in a solder system or in a printed circuit board, and I need to get more thermal energy out there, I use this K-Series knife tip. Now, this knife tip obviously is fantastic for fast drag soldering rework, but it's also great if you're dealing with some surface joint or you're dealing with some application that has a huge ground pore or power plane where that copper, that metal material, is just going to heat soak and it's going to just deprive and wick all the thermal energy away, meaning you're going to have a very hard time desoldering or soldering. More heat, more thermal mass, better soldering action. This K-Series tip I use exclusively for large things and for drag soldering. Okay, these are my two tips that I use. Temperatures, tip types, soldering station. I've talked about three different things that I get asked all the time. Is this satisfactory? I mean, do I need to talk about anything else concerning this? Anything else? How quickly do I go through tips? This is a phenomenal question, and thank you, Ryan Arnold, for asking it. The truth of the matter is, I go through tips, maybe one tip will last me 727 days. I know that because I've actually calculated that in my head. That was the longest life I've had on a tip. And let me tell you why. These tips are not Hakko branded. They're generic Chinese knockoffs. But guess what? The plating is adequate. They are resistant to corrosion, and they don't mind being heat cycled a bazillion times. These are actually pretty good. T12 tips, and I'll share the link that I use, the vendor that I use for these. The main killer. I could extend the life of these tips 200%. This tip could last me 4 years, providing not that if I didn't use it less, but if I didn't constantly introduce this tip to a plethora of different soldering systems. Lead-free, leaded, silver bearing. All of these are different soldering systems with different chemistries that have different life expectancy factors that play into how long this tip is going to last. For example, if I stayed away from rosin core flux and I used exclusively leaded solder, or I was desoldering or reworking things that only use leaded solder, which is impossible in this day and age if it was made after 2005, these tips would last forever. But lead-free can be more caustic. Different flux systems can be more caustic. It just depends on what sort of things you're doing with your tips. If you're Bob, you're shoving them up your ass. But my point is, it really depends on the application. If I was soldering new stuff, these tips would last a long time. These tips are being marred and taken to the woodshed every day by 30-year-old Nintendo Entertainment Systems, by 45-year-old Atari 2600s, and you know what? That's okay. These tips aren't expensive. A $7 investment for something that's going to last me a couple of years, fine. I'll buy another one in 2 years. Not a big deal. Okay? What's the minimum we could spend on a decent soldering station with an OLED or an LED readout? Well, I just explained that. I think $50 will get you a Kestra station equipped just as I have here. Make sure, though, when you get the Kestra, that you get a Kestra that drives T12 tips out of a T12 handle, just like this. These cost nothing. They cost absolutely nothing. They're so cheap. Also, something else I'd like to discuss. If you're worried about tip life and tip wear, not that I am, stay away from thermally shocking your tips upon cleanup. Thermally shocking using a wet sponge, in other words, is far more effective, in my opinion, for cleaning than using like a brass bristle configuration like we have here. But the thermal loads and the abrupt differential or temperature change in the tip, that can be quite inflammatory and insulting to the element of your T12 penal pump. Okay. Now, are we ready to get started? I mean, we can talk about other things certainly, but is it time? Is it time to get going? Is it time to get turned on? Sorry, I had some things here going on in my life that no one needs to know about. Walmart has the Kestra for $36 on their site, but it doesn't come with any tips. Here's something else I want to talk about concerning the Kestra configured tips. I'm always asked, what is the difference between the 2.1 version and the 3.0 3.1? The main difference, as far as I'm aware of, is that the 2.1 version uses a proprietary firmware that was under license, basically. The 3.0 and the 3.1 firmware Kestras use an open source, we'll say clean room back engineered firmware that works with the microcontroller, which is an STM32, which really isn't a microcontroller, but it's an ARM processor, but nonetheless. The 3.0 has a different operating system that is more, that is not so proprietary, that can be updated and traded and manipulated. The hardware differences, setting aside that, minuscule, not really anything worthy. Something else I want to talk about real quick. I see a lot of people mention this. I'm not going to take it apart, but these Kestra soldering stations, the cases are not electronically bonded to the electronics. That is because the electronics, in other words, the PCB, is isolated and not bonded to the housing. There is really no meaningful reason to bond the electronics to this housing, which would both reference an earth ground. The tip on your soldering iron already has, you can't see this, already has an earth ground reference. That's where your protection is. So I see a lot of nonsense about this, but it's just a simple, it's just a design choice. These cases are not electronically bonded because the electronics are isolated. Period. Full stop. Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, here we have it. Back to it. I mean, you can do that. That's fine. It certainly isn't going to hurt anything. But the notion that this is a terrible, horrible thing that's going to catch your house on fire is just totally absent and divorced of any logic and facts. Period. Anywho, the soldering stations. We'll talk about that real quick. Now, right now, the FR301 and the FR300 and all these new age, space age Hakko soldering stations, they're okay. I have used the same Hakko 808 since 1933. You can't buy them anymore. but they're just reliable. They're just reliable, they just work. They're easy to disassemble, and they're easy to tune up and to repair and to refurbish. I don't like the newer ones, primarily, well, the FR300, primarily because I don't like the solder path. It's short, but the way that it's designed, it has a tendency to clog. Solder has a tendency to stop, and it has a tendency to clog in the heat pipe. I don't like that. This device right here, I can use all day long, and I never have to worry about a clog as long as I maintain the equipment. Now, that's another thing we should talk about. Maintenance on your equipment is worth far more than the actual sort of value of your equipment in terms of like its efficacy. The efficacy is directly related to your maintenance habits. If you don't maintain this equipment, this Hako wouldn't last 6 months. This Hako 808 wouldn't last 4 months. But if you routinely maintain these things, and I mean thoroughly maintain them and clean them, this tool I've had since 2008, 2009. I've had this for 12 or 13 years. Like a glove. Take care of your equipment, and it will take care of you every time. Okay, I'm sorry guys, am I boring you with all this stuff? These are just questions that I've been asked so much in the past, but I don't feel like I've adequately answered, so I'm just trying to go over things that newbies or people who are just interested would want to know. Okay, are we ready to get started? Are we ready? Please tell me. Dude, I have played Metroid Dread. I beat it on normal. I beat it on hard. I beat myself hard. Have you had a PS1 come in with dead controller ports? Yes, and we're going to talk about that. That's a great thing that you mentioned, Zims. Let's discuss that when I take this apart. Jacob Mislinsky asks, are you living with your mother? No, Jacob, but I visited with yours last night, and tell her I said thanks. Okay, so here we are. Let's get going. Let's get started. Are we ready? Let's do it. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Let's just start with this assembly, okay? Now we have... First of all, let's just go over what we have. Now in this box, behind door number 1, this is all PS1Digital stuff. So PS1Digital related modding stuff is right here. And in here, I'm not going to show the address on this, but there's something in here. Let me just get a pair of scissors and we'll open this up. Oh, okay. So we have a PlayStation 1 cat kit for the power supply, and it seems like I'm missing something. Give me just a moment here. Is it in here? Ah, we have the PS1Digital. I'm just getting everything together, but it seems like I'm missing something else. Let me look at something real quick, guys. Give me just a moment. I need to determine if this customer has, real quick, I just need to determine if they have a mount, a 3D printed mount. Let me just review the order here. Okay, so this customer come on, you slow computer. Nope. Oh, yes. No. But you know what? Give me just 1 second. Oh! Okay, guys, I'm sorry about that. We're ready to go. I just had to get a... Customer didn't order a mod mount, but he's waited for a while for me, so I'm just going to throw in for him free of charge because it's just a nice thing to do. We have a 3D printed mount here that we're going to be installing. Let me just move all this shit out of the way. And xStation, CapKit, PS1Digital. Where do we start? Well, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to test the damn system to make sure that it works. I've done that. It's in full operational order. Please test these systems. If you're a new modder, or if you're just some guy sitting in your basement doing your own systems, I know it sounds pedantic and ridiculous, but please test these systems because you don't want to invest 2, 3, 4, 17 hours modding something painstakingly only to find out that something was inherently wrong with it right from the get-go. Okay, so just test everything. Let's go ahead. We've tested it. Let's disassemble it. Oh my god, I got all these subscribers coming. Thank you. God bless. Oh, Jesus, I can't do this. Okay. Here we go. Give me just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Now, let's get going. Oh, thank you, Necro Banana. I do like to thrust thoroughly. God bless you and your family. Let's get going. Let's take this apart. Also, when you're handling things, make sure that your work surface underneath is clean, because you may have little pieces of metal debris, and when you're moving and manipulating this plastic and this hardware on your work surface, you're just going to scratch it up. Remember, this isn't your property. This is a customer's. So always take care of their baby. Like, this system might just be something they bought on eBay, or this system might be something that they've had, that their grandmother bought them when they were 11 years old, and it may have a certain sentimental value. The fact of the matter is, you don't know. So always treat things with respect. Adam Ant has a super chat. Thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate that. Could you maybe move the subscriber alerts into the corner? Yeah, I'll do that later. Look, I can't do that right now, okay? We have to just do what we can do. Okay, so very careful. Be very careful. It's not your property. I mean, I know this is common sense, but let's just be very careful about everything. Let's be very calm, very sexy. Oh, this is a game that I was using to test earlier. When I was testing it, I forgot to take it out. No problem. Also, be sure you keep up with the back panel. Always be sure you just put it in the top case and put the top case, discard it, put it somewhere out of sight, out of mind. Okay. Now, we have a cap kit here for the power supply, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to disassemble everything. We're going to take the top RF plating off. All of this FCC, EMI stuff has to go. Nice and easy. Okay. I like to grab one corner because this can be kind of affixed and stuck. Just grab one corner and pull out. Pull out just like this. Make sure everything's out and just lift straight up like that. And you'll liberate the RF plate. Move this out of the way. We'll be having to manipulate it later. Okay. Now let's just go ahead and let's just zip these screws out and let's just take the main board out all together. Sorry if I bumped the camera. Thank you so much, Yura. Thank you so much. That was really nice of you. Thank you for your support, sir. Okay. And another thing. I see a lot of people using drills and electronical devices like I'm using. Mechanized for, screwdrivers. That's fine. But make sure that you have the clutch or the slip set very low. You heard my you heard my screwdriver knocking when it was trying to untorque these screws, that's because I have the clutch set so that it's not going to drive out this plastic and destroy it. It's very delicate. I'm not going to destroy anything with this, with my, oh, thank you so much, Simon. You've always wondered what the second song was in my stream starting MP3? I'll tell you what, I don't even know what it is, but I'll take a look for you, and I'll post it later. You have my word. At any rate, sorry for that. I just want to explain. Make sure that you have your whatever driver you're using, the torque set to a super low setting, just like I do. Now it sounds kind of offensive, right? Like that's bad, but my index finger, I can hold this back with my index finger. Okay? That's good. We're not going to destroy anything with by the impact torque of our screwdriver. Super important. I'm going to do a few prep things. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We've got the motherboard liberated. Let's set it to the side because we'll be working with it in just a moment. Let's come back here to our casing right here, and let's just zip out these two screws because we're going to be recapping our power supply. So real quick. Tick, 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 tick. Perfect. Less torque is more. Okay. Now, I like to investigate, and I do a little analysis of the power supply. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. So there's a few things here that I like to look for. Primarily, I start with the fuse. The fuse might be good, and that's fine. But look for any discoloration, look for any clouding in the glass, look for anything that makes it look anything less than fresh. Everything looks great here. Now I'm just looking here, and we have a nice choke, and we have a little common mode choke here. I'm going to just check this out and make sure that all the windings look good and all the windings look sound. Nothing looks like it's being frayed. Everything here looks fantastic. Now, of course, I want to look at the bottom. Here's our common mode choke. Here's our AC mains fuse coming in. And I want to make sure there's no scorching, no sort of heat registrations, anything like that where, heat registrations, superheated parts on the board here. I'll share it later, Peter. Thank you for your super chat. Guys, I'm so sorry. I really appreciate the super chats. I really do. They make me happy. But it's really difficult for me to break and explain things. So if I don't get to them, I'm sorry. I'll get to them later. But while I'm explaining things, it's important that I stay on track because people need to understand this stuff. Is that fair? That doesn't sound rude, does it? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude. Okay? The bottom. Investigate the bottom of the power supply. Look for anything that looks discolored or dark. Darkness and discoloration can mean heat. Heat. Blake, I have a top loader I broke, an AV mod, I got a board with a bad cart connector. Could you swap the connectors from the... I'm sorry, Blake. Thank you for your super chat, but unless it's a service I offer on my website, it's not something that I have time to do. I'm so sorry, but there are plenty of people who can do that for you and who can help you. Okay, so... back to this. Everything looks pretty good. Everything looks pretty sound. Our transformer here for our lower voltage or DC output looks great. Everything looks just fine. This power supply looks okay. So let's go ahead and let's proceed with the recap. Now we have some caps here that were provided by Console 5. Great job, Console 5. Luke, he's a decent guy. And what I like to do is, if you don't have all these memorized, and why would you unless you do a ton of these? I have them all memorized, but nonetheless, let me show you a quick and easy way of tracking capacitors as you do them. Very simple. Now I'm going to be using my desoldering station. We'll start here with the mains filter cap, okay? I'm going to just look at it on the side here. And I'm going to look at the value. Okay. Very simple. 200 volts. 120 microfarads. You can't see the microfarad symbol because of the sticker. Nonetheless, I know what this is. I'm just going to come right over here to my list, my little packet of capacitors. 150 microfarads, 200 volts. That's what we need to use. Okay? This is how we track capacitors. While we're doing a recap. Just a simple way of doing it. Here we go. me zoom in just a little bit. Let me bring this down. Sorry, guys. Let me just adjust the camera. There we go. Okay. Guys, is there enough light on this shot? Can you see this, or do we need more light? Just curious. If we don't need more light, I'll just keep going. But if you'd like me to jam some more light on this, looks good? Okay. So here's our big 200 volter right here. Now here's something that's very important. When you take this capacitor off, just make a quick examination here. Everything looks great. This capacitor is probably in pretty decent shape. We're going to go ahead and replace it. Now, when you take the capacitor off, pay a mind to this symbol right here. This symbol is an indicator. This is a reference designator for polarity. This will inform you of what orientation your capacitor should be in. Notice the stripe? It should follow the reference designator, like so. This is the negative side of the capacitor. It goes in just like that. Great. Now what you can do is you just put this upside down. You can fold the legs out like that if you'd like. We'll zoom in here because I want to show a nice fillet, what a nice fillet's supposed to look like. Sorry about that. Okay, now guys, can you see this shot? Is this relatively clear? I'm just curious, I just need to know. Guys, can you see this okay? Okay, let's do some soldering. Now I'm going to take my J-series tip, I'm going to come right here onto the right side. Now watch this. I'm going to make contact with the solder first, just like that. I'm going to introduce the solder here. Now watch this. 1, 2, 3. Introduce. Wait till it fills the entire void, and release. Okay. Let's move down here. Okay, same principle. Introduce your tip to the side. Notice I already have a little bead of solder there. Do you see that? Now watch this. Introduce the bead of solder. Come right in here. Introduce fresh solder on the other side. Wait about 3 seconds. Let it fill the void and release. Just like that. It's that simple. Now I'm just going to come in here with some flush cuts and we're just going to cut these off after making our joints like so. And I have to tell you, yep, a little, there we go. It doesn't get any cleaner than that, ladies and gentlemen. Great work. Okay, let's keep going. Now I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because I don't need to do that for every shot, but that's just an idea of through-hole components are super easy. Anybody can do them. Let me just fix my camera up here a little bit. There we go. Okay. Oh, thank you, Blake, for your... would you recommend... who would you recommend for NES top loader repair? Who would I recommend? The guy that I would really recommend for anything top loader related is Jason Roush of what's his? Game Tech US. Jason Roush, Game Tech US. Look him up on Twitter. The guy is phenomenal with top loading systems, NES systems. See if he'll help you. Okay, let's see. Next capacitor. This little baby right here. I'm going to pull it out. That's what she said right here. Let's see. This is a 47 microfarad. No problem. Just takes a quick swipe with your desoldering station. Okay, pull the cap out. Make sure the value is what the value is. Now this is indeed a 47 microfarad, 35 volt. No problem. We'll just come to our little bag of capacitors here and we'll find it. I believe this is it. That's it. Now you'll notice that the voltage might be higher on the supplied capacitors. That's perfectly fine. What's important is that the microfarad rating is the same. And as you can see here, it clearly is. No problem. Once again, we're going to come right into position and we're going to look for that reference designator. Now, do you see right there that little bit of white right above the R16? That's going to indicate our that is going to indicate our polarity. So once again, stripe side follows that reference designator. Jam it in there. Perfect. Okay. We'll just come right in here and we'll just introduce some solder. Just like that. Beautiful. Cut our leads off. Ready to go. Okay, let's just keep moving. This big jewel right here is a 2200 microfarad. Okay, I'll go ahead and zip this bad boy out. And she'll literally fall out just like butter. She was never there. Now let's talk about something. People often confuse dielectric fluid, capacitor rot, with unspent flux. So let's just zoom into this. Now, I'm going to turn this at an angle so you can kind of see that sheen. If I were a betting man, which I am, this sheen, this glisten that you see, where's my pointing device? I know I said I'm slowing down to show these things because it's really important. Because I'm tired of answering these questions for people on the internet. No offense to anyone here, I'm just saying. This sheen that you see here, look at this capacitor. This capacitor has clearly leaked. This small capacitor has clearly leaked. This variable resistor, look right underneath it. Whoops, hold on, I'll find it. This variable resistor and this diode, or this transistor right here, all of these have clearly leaked. Look at this, see right here on the corner? Look, all these things are leaking. They're dielectric blinker fluid. That's bullshit. None of these capacitors are leaking. What you're looking at is unspent flux that managed to seep its way through the plated through holes. These aren't even plated through holes, this is a single layer board. Through the through holes and lived on top underneath the capacitor, the component, where there wasn't adequate heat during the wave soldering process to evaporate or to expel this flux. All you're looking at right here on all these components, like here, this is just unspent flux. So every time somebody comments or somebody tags me in a post on Twitter saying, look at all of this, look at all these rotten caps, even modders that I see that pride themselves on their recapping, they look at this stuff and they're like, oh, look, I'll save you a lot of money, just, look, this would have rotted everything out. Guys, this isn't dielectric fluid. This is not electrolytic fluid. This is just unspent flux that's living on the top surface of the board because you have these things that are called holes. And unfortunately, sometimes that flux manages to seep its way up to the surface of the top layer, okay? Is that understood? See, all this stuff, it's not. It's just unspent flux. It is not. I repeat, it is not. It's not. These aren't compromised capacitors that are going to rot away. That's not what's happening. And there's our 220 microfarad cap. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that a compelling argument? Sorry, guys. It's hard to sort of keep these in line. I want to fix that joint up just a little bit. Just doing a little contact, just like that. Perfect. I don't think there's anything really left for me to talk about in terms of capacitor, so I'm just going to go ahead and cap this bad boy. 16 volts. Here, 16 volts. 1,000 microfarads. Easy. Come to your caps and find 16 volts. 1,000 microfarads. Or 1,000 microfarads and 25 volts. Again, the voltage can be higher, can never be lower, but it can be higher. Once again, there's our designation. Polarity of our capacitor is such that it will enter this board like so. Flip this upside down. Problem. Okay. Come right here. It's a pretty good shot. And we're just going to come right in here, and I'm just going to introduce. Just like that. Come to the other side. Just like that. Thank you, Necro Banana. Thank you again so much, and I hope to see you soon, my friend. Take care. Okay? That's all that is. Very simple. Now, what's left are these two capacitors, and these two capacitors are identical, so I'm just going to go ahead and zip them both out quickly. Perfect. And we'll just pull these out like so. Okay. No big deal. Flip them around. Perfect. Okay, let's solder these up. Just like that. Clip all our leads off. Remove a cap without the soldering gun to show it. Sorry, man. Sorry, Potbelly. I appreciate the super chat, but that was the last capacitor. Catch me next time. Catch me outside. Okay, guys. Let's zoom out just a bit here so we can talk about what we've got going on. Our unit, our power supply, has now been thoroughly recapped. Everything is looking pretty good. Now we're just going to make sure we have, everything in order. We didn't create any solder bridges or anything like that. Investigate your power supply. It's in good shape. So now we're just going to put this back in. Like so. There's nothing left to do. What tip do you run your desoldering iron at? I like to use my desoldering iron with a temperature of approximately 330 degrees. Let me bounce some of this light off so you can see this. 330 degrees I feel is pretty adequate for the majority of rework in desoldering. Guys, I want to do this off camera. Sorry, let me just get these two screws in. You don't need to see that, for Christ's sakes. Jesus. Okay. One. Okay. All set here. So, we can put this all to the side. Power supply has been fully serviced. Fully serviced. Okay? Put it to the side. Now, the PS1Digital requires that we do two things with this top RF plating, and we're going to talk about that. The first thing is we need to take this tab right here, and we need to bend it out 180 degrees. That's very simple. You can use anything to do that. If you're strong enough, you can use your hands, or you can just use a pair of pliers. Now I'm going to grab this tab right here, just to give me some help here, and I'm just going to get it started. I'm just going to bend it forward like that, and once I get it started, I'll just use my thumb and press down just like that. Step one's done. Now the second step is you're going to have to remove this punched in what appears to be a rivet. Now there are a few different ways you can do this. I believe on the PS1Digital instructions it's advised that you use a pair of tin snips to cut this. I think that's a bad idea because you have a great chance, in my experience, of deforming this metal by doing that. Let me show you a different way, a better way. I have a drill here, and I just have a cheap AliExpress Chinese Forester bit. Okay, just a stepping drill bit. What I'm going to do is I'll try to do this a little bit on camera. Here's my rivet, okay? I'm going to take my drill, and I'm just going to introduce this like so. And I'm going to get it started, and this will take just a moment, but watch. Okay, now I want to let me take the metal shavings and get them out of here. Actually, let me just, I don't normally do this over my work surface, so let me just real quick, take these shavings here and just sort of get him out of here because I do not want this to scratch up my customer's property. Just a moment here. I can get these little things too while I'm in here. Okay. Perfect job. Okay, now. This rivet that lived right here, we've effectively drilled it out. It took 5 seconds. Make your life easier. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Okay? All set and ready to go. This plate, all the preparation is done. We can put it to the side. Now, let's get started with the installation. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to begin with the xStation install. We're going to install the xStation, and then after we install the xStation, we're going to test it. After we test it, make sure that it works properly, we'll then proceed with the PS1Digital installation. It's best to do these things in series and in steps rather than all at once. In the event that something goes wrong, the process of elimination will be far less daunting if you only have one kit installed as opposed to both. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to real carefully take a look here at everything. And I'm going to just remove this RF plating. Now this is very simple. I'm just going to take my tip. Okay, I'm just going to go hit something underneath it here. There we go. I'm just going to go around the perimeter where we have these little grounded soldering posts, just like this. Sort of just anchor this into position. Okay, just going to go around and sort of remove these, liberate them. Very easy to do. Okay, just like that. Okay, and there's one hidden on us that we're going to have to access. Right in there. Do you see it? Now I'm going to do this a little bit off camera because I need to be able to see it. But you just want to take your big tip in there. Okay, we're just going to heat that up. Now here's a wonderful application. Remember we were talking about tips earlier. I would never ever use my J tip, my J series tip to do this. Look at all this thermal mass. You're going to have a lot of thermal energy to properly molten, or to get this solder into a molten state. Because these are just huge ground planes, and they're just going to suck all the heat away from your iron. So it's going to have to have some thermal mass behind it. Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's get started. Now the easiest thing to do here is, well, we've got two options. Let me ask you guys, do you want to go ahead and you want to lift the legs, or do we want to install the QSB on the back? It's up to you. I'll let you decide, QSB or the legs. Let's see what the chat says. Okay, there's one for legs. Let's see what else we've got. QSB, sweep the leg, QSB, leg, leg, leg. Good lord, you guys are really, really divisive today. Okay, I'll tell you what, we're doing them both anyways. Let's just go ahead and let's do the QSB, okay? Is that fair? So let's get that ready. Oh, good lord. Oh, here we are. Okay. Alright, we'll do the QSB, okay? Let's just get all this material out. Now, things that we're not going to need in this particular application, I'm not going to need these standoffs, and I'm not going to need the 1000 series QSB because this is going into a 5500 series. Okay? We don't need neither of those. We're going to need this. We're going to need this. I'll set these to the side. Here's our QSB. Now, here's the trick. Here's the secret to a strong QSB installation. Let me just get a few materials out here. People get so caught up on this. It's not a big deal. And you know what I'm going to do? Hold on a sec. Don't say that, Miriam! Gosh damn it! Oh shit, that nearly killed me. Hold on, guys. Trust me. I'm bringing in an additional light source because I want... See how it's kind of muted? I want this to be very, very, very viewable. Okay, now that's better. Okay, so... Sorry about that, guys. I just wanted this to be visible. See, that's much better. Let me just put something underneath this. Okay. Now this QSB, guys, zoom in just a bit here. The QSB is actually going to live right in, upside down, right in here, very loosely. But there are two things that we have to do first. Now, it's really easy to line up, and people get all bent out of shape about this, but lining this up isn't a big deal. And that's fairly well lined up as it is. But two things we have to do. Right in here, we have a via here, and we have a via way over here that we have to remove the conformal coating of, on top of, in addition to we have to remove the solder resist because we have to access these vias. How do you do it? Well, let me show you what I like to do. If I can find it, give me just a second. Let's see, there's that, there's that. Where is my... Hold on, guys, hold on! I have a specific tool that I like to use for this. And where in God's name did I lay it? Uno momento, uno momento. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'll wing it. I'll wing it with these tweezers. That's fine. I have some masturbatory tweezers in my pocket. Don't worry about it. Okay, so let's talk about these. Let's talk about these vias right over here. Let's get started now. Let me find my landmark here. There's my chip. Now, right in here, this via all to itself. We can't solder to this as is. We're going to have to do something. What can we do? Let me show you. Let me get this out. Let me get this out of the frame, for God's sakes. Okay, that's better. What we're going to do is I'm going to come right in here. Okay, right in here with just the edge of my tweezer. Let me rotate it this way so I can see it a little bit better, and so maybe you can too. Okay, there we go. Now I want to come right in here. Very carefully, okay? Very carefully. Now watch, I'm just going to start scraping. Very, very gently. Okay? Make nice little ellipses. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just like that. Now, that's looking pretty good. Okay? That's pretty good, but can we clean that up any more? As a matter of fact, we can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fiberglass pen just to make sure we really clean this surface. Now, this might come a little bit out of frame or a little bit out of focus, but that's okay. You guys can see what's happening. Watch this. Back and forth. Just like that. Perfect. Now, I'm just going to take a little shot of IPA. Look at that. Doesn't get any cleaner than that. Okay. Let's move on to the other via, which is right over here. Okay, that little jewel right there. Let me sort of get this in position for everybody. Can I zoom in any further than this? I don't know. Ooh, that's quite nice. Okay, guys, can you see this okay? Is this visible? I hope so. So here we have it. Right in here. I'm going to come right in here with my hand. And watch this. There's a... Whoa. I'm sorry, I'm getting all over the place. This is just a tough angle. Okay, there's our via right there, right? And watch this. Let me sort of get this out of the way. Watch this. Nice and easy. Slow little micro movements. Okay? Clean this via off, liberate it from its lacquer and its solder resist that it's coated with. Okay, just like that. That looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that fiberglass pen. I'm going to come right in here with it. Just like that. a shot of IPA. We'll clean this off. Hold on. Oh, kind of screwed that up for you guys. I apologize. Usually I blame Bob for these sorts of things, but look at that. Look at that Via. Okay? Those are the two things that you have to do, prep work-wise, to get this to work. Alright, let's back this out. Now, let's get to alignment. Oh, where did I lay the goddamn thing? Oh. Sorry about that. Okay, so aligning the QSB, all right? Very simple. Now I'm going to zoom in just a bit here. Now the first thing that I'm going to do, guys, keep in mind, by the way, these boards, the QSBs, they're not made with precision, and that's okay. They don't have to be. The point is, don't spend your day burdening yourself getting this perfect. You're never going to. Get it pretty close. Not perfect, but pretty close. So I'm going to come right in here, and I'm just going to look for some landmarks. So I know that this lives here. That Via that we just exposed, it's going to live right around in there like that. Move it to the right. Now come up here, to the right, and everything sort of falls into place, right? Always manipulate everything. Look and manipulate, look and manipulate. That looks pretty good. Move it to the right just a bit. Okay, now we're going to come back down. And what I'm going to do is when I have everything in approximately good order, which I do right now, I'm going to move this. Whoops, I'm going to position this. First of all, I'm going to let go of this. I'm going to load my J-Series tip up very generously with solder, because I'm just going to do a quick bodge, not to make a strong joint, not to make a super polished joint, but just so that I can fix this into place and free my hands so that I can line it up with even more precision. So let me just do that real quick. Okay, and you know what I might do? I might just shoot some... I might just shoot some liquid love juices in there to make it easier. Okay, so I'm going to come right here to the side. As you guys can see, we're working this in. Now that looks pretty good. I'm going to come right in here. That looks pretty good. Alright, now I'm going to rotate this up just like that. Perfect. Now I'm going to take a finger and I'm going to hold this in position. It looks like there's a lot of space there, but you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to come right in here. Not a clean joint. It's messy. We have some solder splash there. That's okay. The point of this joint is not to be strong and not to be permanent. It's just a placeholder. Guess what I can do now? I can remove my hands, and with my hands removed, I can articulate this board even further and line everything up with even more precision. Now this all looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to come right here, and I'm just going to look at everything that we have. The points down here, the points up here. I can move it. I can slightly pivot this with a few varying degrees of rotation. I can pivot this. That's all I need. Everything here looks just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the far end. I'm going to line it up. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to line it up and I'm going to make sure everything here is lined up and looking okay. Everything here looks just fine. So this point right up here, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it like it's going out of style. Again, this isn't going to be a strong joint. This is just going to be a placeholder. Right in here. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Ugly. Ugly. That's okay. It's supposed to be. With that in place, my board is now pretty well secured. I can now have two hands free. I can clean my tip, and I can just sort of... That's a little no clean in here. Oops, right here. Sorry. I'm looking at different things than you guys. And remember, guys, I usually don't solder this bad. There is a camera in my way, and I'm having to look around, and I can't... It's not easy for me, okay? So just go easy on me. Here we go. Just like that. Okay, I want to move over to the right just a little bit. Very easy. Don't be afraid to use more solder than you need. That's not going to hurt anything. The idea is you want to flood these castellated edges. Watch this. See, I'm just sweeping my iron. I'm introducing fresh solder as I sweep my iron across, and that's okay. That is quite all right. Do not worry about it. Okay, now watch this. See, that's what solder resist is for. Look at this big blob of solder. Just like that. Not a big deal. That's why we have solder resist, guys. Watch. That's why we have solder resist. Don't worry about using more solder than you have to. I do that intentionally and deliberately so you guys will understand that you don't have to sit here when you're starting out and you're new to soldering. Things like this. Sometimes you don't want to use too much solder. Other times, it's okay. But you don't want to sit here. Now watch this. You don't want to sit here with this joint. And watch what I'm doing. Damn it! You'll be here all day. You'll be here all day long. Use that solder. That's what it's here for. That's what this resist is here for. Solder mask is to mitigate the proliferation and penal pumping of solder. Now look at that. That's all it takes. Okay, and I got a little solder splash there, but that's okay. I'll clean that up in just a second. Not a big deal. All right, does that make sense? Does that make reasonable sense? And again, to clean up that solder splash, not a big deal. Spritz it with a little IPA. I use 91%, and just rake over the board. Just rake over the board. That's all it takes. Okay, so let's just move over here a little bit. We have a little point up here, and again, look at this. It's not well aligned. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. Okay? Watch. It's okay. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now we have some little points here that we need to work with. Not a problem. I'll just drop a little no clean flux on there. Okay? Super easy, okay? Now look at these joints. Beautiful fillets, beautiful formations. There's no pitting or divots. Doesn't look like a golf ball. We're making good joints here. Okay, now can I just zoom in a little bit more? I wonder how much can I get out of this? I can get quite a bit. Okay guys, let's try this. A little more in-depth, right? You have to learn, well, I'll talk about this more when we do some drag soldering, but you have to learn about your tips. Not all of these tips are the same. I could buy 7 of these J-Series tips, and none of them will behave different way. None of them will behave similar or even identical. You have to learn, just like an oven, your soldering tip, clip this, your soldering tip, regardless of brand, regardless of quality, these T12 tips are going to have cold spots. What does that mean? You have to know where to put the energy, and you have to know how to articulate this tip in such a way that you're going to get maximum thermal output to the spot or the site that you're working with. Now watch very carefully. See my tip here? Now this is going to be a little bit out of focus, but watch this. I'm going to try to put solder directly onto the tip, to the tip of my tip. Now watch very carefully. Notice how the solder is melting, but it's running down, and see how this ball is forming? It's not adjoining to my tip. That's because the tip of my J-Series tip is much colder than the body of my tip. Now watch this. See, watch. See, it's not melting it. It's kind of melting it, and it's kind of sticking to the sides, but not the tip. You have to learn the heat of this tip, and I've learned this by using it, and you only know this by using it. The heat of this tip is in the belly. Watch this. The belly. The belly. The belly. That's where its thermal energy is. So what I see a lot of people do is they say, I can't get a good joint and my solder is just not melting and adhering. That's because you're using the coldest spot of your tip. Watch this. See, you're using the coldest spot of your tip. That's not what that's designed for. Use the body. And how do you do that? Rotate. Look at my hand positioning. rotate the tip. You don't have to change or change your hand manipulations, or you don't have to change your hand positioning. You only have to rotate your tip. Now watch this. Watch this. Rotate. Rotate. Okay? Rotate. Right in here. Same principle. Which I could put the tip in there all day long. Look, all day long. But see how the solder is running up. It's running back up the solder and it's not running into the tip. We have a cold spot. The solution to that is not to change your hand. Watch. Change the rotation. Change the rotation. Just like that. Okay? Oh, give me just a second, guys. I had a message. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry, James Nipper. I see your messages. I'm so sorry. The ticketing system has been a nightmare on my website. Oh my God, a developer really screwed me over. It's still not working right. I have another email address that I've dispatched out to people. I have a few customers from June and July now that have been waiting. I'm getting to you. If you've not heard from me, reach me at voultar@gmail.com. But you got to understand something. My turnaround time right now is listed in black and white, and it has been for the past 6 months. 4 to 5+ months turnaround time. Now, I hope to change that in the next 2 months. I hope before Christmas, I should be back to a 4 to 2 week turnaround time. But I can't help that. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is right now, and I am very clear in advertising that. So, James, I will check into you, but right now, I can't speed things up any more than I'm speeding them up. I mean, if you sent a system a month ago, of course it's not going to be done by now. Okay? But I will handle you. I will handle your body. Okay? Email me, James, at voultar@gmail.com if you've tried communicating with me through Twitter or if you're having ticket trouble, okay? Now, here we go. Let's examine everything that we have. Just looking over all the solder, all of our work, everything looks quite exceptional. I'm quite pleased. What you can do though, once again, couple spritz of IPA. I'll back out of this just a bit here, okay? Move this out of the way. Take your brush. And just go over it. Clean up your work. The unspent flux is not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just not pretty. No clean flux is not caustic, and it's not going to be detrimental to any of this hardware, but it's not aesthetically pleasing. So if you want to remove it, go ahead and remove it. This is all good. All great. One last thing to do. We have to pull a resistor out of circuit, and we have to connect this APLL. This is basically, the xStation is going to be phase locking, or it's going to be generating the clock, so we have to pull this clock out of place. Let me zoom in here, and I'm going to show you the resistor that we're going to remove. That bad boy, whoops, right there. Now I'm often asked too, which I think is kind of interesting, Voultar, what kind of rework station do you use to remove surface mount resistors? I use a soldering iron. Let me show you. Let's come right in here to this resistor, and I'll just heat both sides up with my J-series tip simultaneously, and away it goes. Just like that. It's that simple. Okay. Now, what I need to do is we need to make a little point of contact here. Oh, I already have one ready to go. Okay, so we have to make a little point of contact with a link wire that we're going to have to use. I want to put just a little flux on there to help it along the way. I just want to go ahead and pre-tin that bad boy, just like so. Just like that. Okay, now, here's our conductor. I'm just going to put it in position like this. And once we get that in position, I'm just going to introduce my iron like that, and boom, just like that. Beautiful connection. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Right down here. Okay, this is where the link is going to be made. I'm just going to stretch it out. I'm just going to clip it. Just like that. Whoops. Give me a second, guys. I'm just going to strip this down. Sorry, guys. I know this is getting a little blurry here. Okay. Let's go ahead and pre-tin this pad. Perfect. Put a little love juice on there if you want to. You don't have to. Now this is getting kind of weird. Let me turn it this way. Now I can do some work. Okay, there's our point right there. Now watch this. Just simply extend your cable out. Like this. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Beautifully done. Now that's a 26 AUG stranded wire cable that I'm using because I want this is a clock wire, okay? I want it to be stiff and I want it to be rigid, just like my ex-wife. So that's why I use this and not a 30 AUG single core conductor. All right, let's back this out. Now, we're doing great. USB's installed. The only thing remaining, pull the FFC tabs out. Okay, make sure that you have that thoroughly inserted and seated into the connector. That's it. Now we're ready to turn this bad boy around, and I think we're ready to work on this right here. Okay, now this is very simple, but it's something else that people get hung up on. Well, let me read. That's so egotistical. Let me not say that this is simple, because in reality, it's not simple. We have to lift a series of pins from the CD's DSP. This is basically the processor that controls all sending and receiving of data to and from the CD. It can be challenging, but I'm going to use just this dental pick and we're going to lift these pins. All right, let's do it. Let's zoom into this and let's talk about it. Okay, guys, is this too far in? Do we need to pull the zoom out? What do you think? I'm just curious. Do we need to pull the zoom out, or is this adequate? Do we need to go in closer? Because this seems to be the place where people understandably brick and destroy systems. Okay, we're looking good. All right, let me sort of stop bouncing around here. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain what I'm going to do first. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my tool and I'm going to leverage it in between the pins like this. And you know what? I'm going to do something real quick because I really want you guys to hear me. Music is going off for a few minutes, okay? Because this is very important. I want there to be no disruptions or no distractions. The tool is going to lift before I do anything, and with no pressure. You can see that my hand is super loosey-goosey, right? There's no pressure. Your objective is to only get the tool in the middle, okay? Pin 80 we're going to start with. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the tip of my J-series tip is going to come right here to the edge. It's not going to come in contact with the pin. It's only going to come in contact with the pad. Watch carefully. Here's the tip. Here's the tool inserted. I'm going to come into contact with the pad, not the pin. When the solder goes molten, I'm just going to twist. I'm just going to rotate. I'm just going to rotate. Rotate, just like that. Watch carefully. Okay, here we go. Now watch carefully. Okay, heat's on the pad. Rotate and pull. That's it. Let's move on down the line. Let's do some more. Let's see. We got to do 77 and 76. So right here. Here's 78. I'm sorry. We got to do 78 and 77. Okay, that's right. So watch carefully. Heat on the pad. Rotate. Heat on the pad. Like this. Rotate. 76, 75, 74. We got to do pin 74. Heat on the pad. Rotate. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take some flux, and I'm going to clean up those pads underneath. Very simply, watch this. Clean. 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 And clean. Okay? And I'm going to come right down in here, and I'm going to continue on my journey. Let's see. Let me count. 80, 79, okay, 78, 76, 5, 74. Now we need to come over here. We need to do pin 56. So I'm going to come on this side. Okay, let's count up. We're going to lift pin 56. This is 51, right? So here we go. 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56. Whoops, I like to use the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 right here. The tool is in position before I ever come close to putting heat on this joint. I don't want to put heat on anything unnecessarily. So here we go. Let me get this in frame. Heat the pad, and then the tool, as you can just see, as you just saw, does the work for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and I'm going to clean up these pins just a little bit because they're a little bit out of rotation, but that's not a big deal. So I'm just going to come here. I'm just going to push this forward just a bit. And I'm going to come over here. These are actually all pretty good. I'm just going to sort of level them out a little bit here. Leveled, 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 and leveled, just like that. Guys, I have to tell you, it doesn't get any cleaner or easier than that. If you just follow this technique, that one's a little far out. Sorry about that. Okay, perfect. It doesn't get any cleaner or easier if you just adopt this technique. Don't put heat on the pins. Only put only put heat on the pads and for a very short period of time. Now we've got to rotate this because we've got just a few more pins to do, 47 through 45. So let me see if I can sort of get that in focus, which I can. Very good. Okay, let me get in here. Let's count. This top right section here is 50, 50, 49, 48, 47. We're doing 47 through 45. So the tool's in place. Tool's always in place first. Little heat goes a long way. You'll see the heat run up the pan, just like that. That's liberated. Come over one more. Here's 46. Okay, come over one more. And there's 45. Now, it's really that easy. I'm just going to come right in here and I'm going to grab all three of these at once, simultaneously, just like this. I want to get underneath them all and watch this. Liberate them and lift them all and isolate them simultaneously. Just like that. Doesn't get any cleaner than that, guys. Do you use the camera when you don't stream? Hell no. I can't see anything. This camera gets put up, always. I never use the camera. It's a pain in the ass. Okay, but anyways, the tool. Thank you, Adam, by the way, for that. I really appreciate the super chat. This is just a dental pick. That is all this is. It's just Amazon, $2.99. You'll get a pack of 3 dental picks. Okay? So that's the xStation. Now we're going to test this thing to make sure that the xStation works. But does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Okay, so no real questions. Everybody understands. I mean, was this fairly informative? I'm just curious if I've done a good job in explaining so far what we've covered. Because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want to make sure that I'm being as informative and as thorough as I can be. I don't use a microscope. I don't use a microscope. I just use my 2010 vision. I don't need that. Okay. We're in good shape? Okay, let's keep going. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to temporarily position this and we're going to give it a test. That's very simple. That's just a matter of coming here. Let me turn this light off. We're just going to temporarily put this together, partially, not all the way. We're just basically going to give power to it. Okay, and we're going to take our xStation, and we're just going to temporarily connect this. And make sure this thing is going to boot into the xStation menu. If it does, we're ultimately in pretty good shape. So let me just get my card. Okay. I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to bring it right over here and we're going to test this. Just a moment, please. Okay. That's crudely set up, so let's just come right here and let's go to game testing. Okay, now let's give this a shot. And we're going to see if this is going to boot into the menu. Perfect. We're in great shape. Okay, let's take this apart. Oh, give me just a second. Oh, Daddy. No, Daddy, no. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. So, we're in good shape. xStation works perfectly fine. We booted into the menu. Nothing left for me to do there. Move this to the side. Why is this so loose, like my grandmother? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Grandma. Okay, let me just fix this. I'm just fixing the camera. I'm just fixing the cameras. Okay, so we're in good shape. What's remaining? Well, we will be doing the PS1Digital installation now. Now, we can do a couple of different things, and we can go at this from a couple of different angles. I think the best thing to do is let's just start with the simple stuff. So we're going to remove the serial port right here in the back, and we're going to install the first flex cable. So let's start by just removing this. And here's how I like to do this. Let me just zoom into this a little bit so we can talk about it. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Bring my camera down. Okay. Put some light on this. Ah, where's my switch? There we go. Okay. I put some light on this, just like this. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to get out my desoldering tool, and I'm just going to start by zipping the solder out of our joints real quick. Now, that's easy. No problem. That's done. I do things a little differently here. What I like to do is to save wear and tear and a cleaning on my desoldering station. There's a lot of solder here in these grounding posts. What I'll do is I'll just take my tool, I'll cut these tabs off like this. Okay, just cut these tabs off. just like that. And here's a fun little trick that you can do at home. I'm going to take, whoops. There we go. That's pretty legible. I'm going to take that large K-series tip that I talked about earlier. Now watch this. I'm going to introduce a lot of solder here. Well, not a lot, but just enough. Now watch this. I'm going to make sure both sides are flooded out. I'm just going to lift this out just like so. And then I'm going to come to the other side. Okay, now watch this. I'm just going to lift this out too. And then finally, when we come back to this side, check this out. Pops right out. No problem. Okay? That's how I remove the serial port. It's just faster and it's easier for me to do it that way. Alright, I want to throw that away. I think I might have got a little solder in there. Give me just 1 second. Let me clear that out. Perfect. Okay, there's our soldering. There is our serial port all ready to go. I'm going to flip this upside down. A lot of unspent flux here. You can choose to clean this. You can choose to leave it there, quite frankly. This doesn't hurt anything, but if it bothers you, like I said, and this isn't from us, this is just from the factory, spritz it with a little IPA, and come right in here and just cut that off if it really bothers you that deeply. Me, I could give two shits less about it. Nonetheless, here we go. Let's get out some of our PS1Digital hardware, specifically the flex cabling. Okay, let me cut into this like I cut into Bob last night. All right, 1 second. Okay, first flex cable, super easy, guys. When you're doing your flex cables, always make sure you follow the silk screening. This side up means exactly that. This side stays up. So very simply, I'm just going to take my J-tip and I'm just going to load it up with a lot of flux and a lot of solder. More solder than flux, really. And I'll drop a little flux here. Okay. And now watch this. I'm going to come right in here like a real man. Whatever that's supposed to mean, I don't know what that means. Okay, now watch this very carefully. Everything's lined up. I'm just going to make contact. Now I'm going to let go. Not pretty. It's not pretty. Not meant to be pretty. I can just take my hand now. It's fairly liberated. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. Okay. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Now I can free both hands, and I can just introduce just like that. It really doesn't get any cleaner than this. We're all set. Okay, does that make sense? Oh, thank you, Doobsenhauer. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing well too. Okay. That's all it takes. Now, let's move on to right down here, the controller hooks, which live right in this area. By the way, I hope James Rolfe doesn't sue me for this. I don't even know why this is on here, quite frankly. Thank you so much, Doobsenhauer, once again. I really appreciate you. Now, this might be a little tricky for me to get lit well. Let me think about this. What is the best way of... This shot is kind of difficult. I'll tell you what, I want to do it this way. I want to do it this way. Yeah. I want to do it this way. Now that's about as good as I can do with this shot. Okay. I'm just going to do a bead of flux on one side. And once again, I'm going to load up my tip. Put some solder there. Oh, thank you. Is your solder wire Rosencore? No, sir. Thank you for your donation. This is a Kescher No Clean PB37 1.1 percentile. I have moved away from rosin because, quite frankly, this isn't the 1980s anymore. Okay? Now, I'm just going to line this up, okay? The best that I can via hand relief. Guys, I can't see what I'm doing. I'm just guessing at this point. Okay, I'm just guessing. Okay, did I even make contact? I don't think I did. Okay, did I make contact? Okay, I made decent contact. Good. When you get one side down, things get a lot easier. So one side's down. I'm going to make sure this is flattened against the unit. Just like that. Very simple. Let's rotate it on the other side. Boy, this is really difficult because my hand positioning. So I'm going to try to. This is really ass backwards. I think I can let that go now. Okay, let me let it go. I'm not very pleased with that. I'm going to hit it again. Now that I've got it taped down, or tagged down, I'm just going to take my flux and my solder and I'm just going to run it down. Just like that. Boy, this is an awkward angle. I could do this in 2 seconds if I wasn't trying to make this shot visible. I'm going to just take this so I can hold this down. I'm just going to come right in here, just like that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Beautifully done. Okay, that's much better. Do you plan to offer an ESCG monitor? No, I don't think so, Matt. I don't think I'll be offering that for the OG Famicom. There's just a lot going on there, and there's a few things that I'd like to fix before offering that. Okay. Now that's okay. That could have been done a little bit better, but I can't see, and I would have had to come off camera, and I want you guys to see this, but by no means is that bad. Perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. Okay. Let's see, what's remaining? Let's do this little girl right here. Wait, that sounds terrible. Let's do this little joint right over here. This is for the audio and 5 volts. Okay. Now, what I like to do when I'm doing fine-pitched TSOP work, which this is a TSOP 24, I think, looking at the package, I could be wrong. I like to get my tip, my J-series tip, very clean. Okay, very clean initially. I don't want any excess on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run some flux over this, just like this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clean tip, and I'm going to actually, you know what? While we're here, let me zoom in. Okay, let me back this out just a bit because that's a little too much. $14 wombats. Thank you so much, RF Merrill. I really appreciate that. All right, let me just fix this up, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to fix the shot. Okay, that's a pretty good shot. Let me just get this in frame. Perfect. Okay. Now, my tip is super clean. I've introduced a generous amount of flux, and I'm just going to line this up just like so. Now watch carefully. I'm only going to use basically the skim coating of solder that's on my tip to make this work. Now watch this. This is just a tag. I'm just tagging. God damn it. I'm turning this shit off. Guys, thank you for the donations and stuff like that, but god damn it. Fuck off with it, okay? Thank you. I'm sorry, but this is so important. I'm trying to show people how to be champions. I'm trying to show them, damn it. I'll turn it back on in a second, guys, okay? But as you saw, I just took the skim coating of solder on my tip to tap this in. Now my hands are free, but I can't, if I'm not so confident in that, I'll come over here to the side. Now watch this. Boom. Okay? That's pretty well tacked in. So the only thing I have to, my hands are free now. My hands are free. I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to introduce the skimmiest of skim coats. Now watch this. Watch my tip. Okay, watch this. You see my tip? Watch, 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 watch. That's plenty. That is plenty to do the job. Watch carefully. We may even get some good bridging here. Okay, that is plenty of solder to do the job. I'm going to come right in here and I'm going to introduce my tip. Remember, Rotate your handle. If you're not getting the energy down in there, you're not going to be wetting solder. See how I'm rotating? See how I'm rotating? Now watch, I'm going to move across. See how I'm moving across? Just like that. Move across. Just like that. Now look how beautiful that is. That's all it takes. If you're not happy with it, again, you don't have to, but if you're not experienced and you're afraid that you didn't do a good job, use more flux. Flux is your friend. Come across it again, just like this. Okay? Nice, slow, dragging technique. Sweep down. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. Okay? But this is one of those situations where less is truly more. All right? How was that? Was that okay? Was this a good shot? Could you see this okay? Okay? Beautiful joints. Beautiful joints. Now we're going to do some really sophisticated stuff. We're going to be doing the GPU flex, which is quite difficult if you've never done this before. Now let me set this shot up because this is super important. First thing we need to do, though, we need to get this resistor off of here because the PS1Digital clocks itself, and therefore it will clock the PlayStation. So we got to pull this oscillator out of circuit. Again, my rework station for removing resistors is my J-Series tip. Okay, having said that, I want to clean my tip off thoroughly. Okay, that's pretty thorough. Now, I want to line this up just like this so you can just see the corner. I'm really just interested right now in this area because you don't need to see everything. This is the part that makes it or breaks it for about 90% of people who are installing this kit, whether or not they pass it or fail it. Let's talk about some things. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to clean your tip very thoroughly. Now I'm using a J-Series tip. I'm going to take my solder and I'm going to take my flux and I'm just going to beat it across. I'm going to beat that meat. What? Didn't say that. Okay, now let me get a little more comfortable here. Okay. Now I'm going to come right in here. The lighting is pretty good. Now watch this. This is very simple. We're going to align this flex. Now I'm just using my eyes to do this a little bit. Okay. That looks pretty good. I'm actually going to use the preview a little bit because this camera's in my way. Okay, that is pretty to the right, just a corner, just a smidge, to the left, just a smidge. Take your time, guys. This is not a race, okay? Just take your time with the alignment. Now, I think that looks just fine. I'm going to bring this in like so, and watch this. My hand, my free hand, I'm coming up here to collect my soldering iron. Now, I'm just going to make sure. Let me realign this. Sorry, guys, I ruined that shot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Let's do this again. Before we put any solder on the board, let's line this up. And it's very simple. It takes just about 10 seconds. I want to come over. Now, that's pretty aligned to me. That looks pretty good. Make sure it's butted up. Nice and close against it. Now, watch this. I'm just going to make contact. That's all I need. That little bodge. That's all you have to do. Don't worry about going across the entire thing. Get it locked in place. If you're aligned down here, which we are, by the time you get all the way down here, you're still going to be in great alignment. Look, you're in perfect alignment. There's nothing for you to do. So if you want to, take your fingers and start with the edges first. Take your finger, put tension across this, go right across, make sure everything's in perfect alignment, which it is. Butt it up nice and close. Now watch this. I'm just going to come right in here with my finger, and I'm going to come right in here with what little solder's left. Now watch. Not a big deal. Go right across, just like that. Let it go. Let it go. You have now perfectly locked and aligned this cable, and there's nothing left for you to do other than solder it. Your hands are free. You don't have to worry about holding anything. You don't have to worry about messing with anything and manipulating it as you try to solder this. Keep it simple. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my tip. I'm going to show you a few different things here. Tip is nice and clean, okay? Tip is super clean. I'm just going to introduce some fresh solder to the belly of my tip. Okay, now what I'm going to do is very simple. I want to come to the middle of this thing. I want to come to the middle and I want to pick a direction. I want to pick to the left. So watch this. This is what I would recommend doing. Start in the middle and use the belly of your tip. Remember, rotate. Watch my finger. Watch how the tip rotates so that it is parallel to the, it's parallel to the chip, to the IC. Watch. I'm not changing my hand position. Check this out. I'm just rotating it. Make sure that your rotation is proper. Okay? Now we're rotated. Now watch this. I'm just going to introduce this and bring this flat against. Now watch this. Just do a practice run. Go across, go across, go across, go across. Pick up some solder here. Go across. Great. Come back the other way. Watch, 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 watch. That bridging, that's nothing to worry about. If you get bridging like that and you freak out, stop. Apply some more flux. Come right here to the edge. Okay, watch this. Go right across. Take your time. And you're not pushing down. You are gliding gently. Gently glide across all of this, okay? Gently glide across all of this. I want to clean my tip just a little bit here because I'm going to use this bridge and I'm going to use it to carry me the rest of the way. So once again, clean your tip. Okay, I would normally not stop so many times. I'm just trying to show you guys how you can be careful and cautious and still do a great job. Now watch this. Right in here, nice and easy. Wait for your solder to go molten and then start moving. Okay, go across. Go across, brush it out, clean your tip off. We don't need any more flux. Just gotta clean our tip thoroughly. Come right in here, watch carefully. Okay, we're starting to get we're getting a little hokey here. What does that tell me? That tells me that we're running out of flux because we are not deoxidizing fast enough. Watch this. Come right in here, right across. I'm bringing it right to the edge. Good, now bringing it all the way back across. Nice and easy. A little more flux if you want to. Okay, clean your tip off. And with your tip perfectly clean, you don't have to worry about solder bridging because if your tip is clean, you can clear it just like that. That is the best sort of method I can think of as an introduction to doing this kind of fine-pitched work without destroying anything. And if you look at our fillets, and if you look at our joints, they're beautiful. Okay, super easy, super easy. Now these little joints here that are still exposed, they're just anchors. They don't serve any electrical purposes. I mean, I don't think they do, but you just come in here like this. I'll use the tip of my iron. Watch this, you just come in here, and you just add a little there. And of course, my tip doesn't generate enough heat, so I'm gonna have to turn it this way, so I can use the belly of that tip. Okay, just like this. And I'll just come right in here. Just like that. Well, it's kind of hard for me to see. Let me do, actually, you know what, give me just a second, guys. I gotta... Okay. Okay, just like that. Sorry, some things I just can't see. But having said that, there we go. Let's investigate. Now here are our fillets. Everything looks great. Is there anything that we need to discuss about soldering the flex cable and doing super fine pitched work like this? Is there anything that you would like me to discuss or to go over again while we're here? Anything. I'll wait just a few minutes. Anything. Let's talk about this. Okay, here's the scenario. Let's say that we create a bridge. should we create a bridge? And would you guys like me to show you how to clear a bridge that you create? Let's do that. Let's do that. Let me mute the music so I can concentrate. So let's say that we have a bridge, right? Let's say that we did this. And let's just say that we've got... Let's see. Let me put a little solder here on my tip, eh? Okay. Let me just try to create a bridge here. Right here in this corner. Let me jam some solder in here, okay? Okay, let's say we have a nasty bridge here, right? Let's say that we've cleaned our tip 1,000 times and we can't get this. Let me make this a little more dramatic. Okay, yeah, we've got this nasty bridge here. We can't clean this son of a bitch. What do we do? Well, you have a variety of options. Let me show you a few. I hope to God you have some desoldering wick. That is going to be the most effective tool for handling large, huge surplus level solder that's living on your board somewhere. If you don't have any wick, let me show you a secret technique that I started teaching people 17 years ago. I have some ribbon wire here. I'm just going to cut off a small amount. That's all I'm going to do. Now watch this. See my soldering? See my ribbon wire? I want to zoom out just a bit here. I'm going to take my wire strippers like this. And I'm going to just strip this off about halfway. And I'm going to pull the jacketing off very carefully. Not all the way, but to about right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start rotating. Well, I'll just pull off the jacketing. That's fine. I'm going to start rotating this. 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 That's all it's going to take. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the edge. Okay? Now watch very carefully. We have two options. We can either use the no clean liquid flux that we're using, or we can use a gel petroleum-based flux system that will work even better. Let me show you that even this stuff will work for some rework like this. So let's zoom in very tightly here. Okay, let me center this shot up. Okay, now check this out. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to very generously introduce both flux and my makeshift desoldering wick. Somebody clip this. Now I want to make sure my tip is nice and clean, and I'm just going to lay this in flat and parallel to the board. Now watch very carefully. No pressure. We're just going to use the heat and let gravity pull the tool down to the site. Very carefully, count to 3, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,003, and release. Now we got a little bridge there, but that's because I touched it. That's not a problem. That's a small bridge. Small bridges like that, you just apply a little flux to. Now watch this. Watch very carefully. Come right in here. Just like that. That is the easiest way. If you don't have a desoldering wick, I hope that you do, but if you don't and you find yourself in a pinch, I'm sure you have some ribbon wire. You can make one. You can make one. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Okay? We're in good order here. Now, if you want to, if you feel like, if you're not too confident, just come in here and do some sweeping techniques. Grab this joint, sweep away. Grab this joint, sweep away. I don't need to do that, but if this makes you feel more confident, do it. There's nothing wrong with this. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a big glob of solder and bridges, and you don't want to come in here and you don't want to be sitting here trying to sweep it away for 30 minutes. That's not effective. You're just moving solder around without collecting anything, without collecting the surplus. Okay, but this is all fantastic. It looks great, and it is great, okay? That's about everything I can think of to talk about with the GPU Flex. Is there anything else that you guys would like me to discuss? The key is always having a clean tip. Even if you're in the middle of soldering and you see excess solder accumulating and bulbing out and sort of balling up on your tip or on the work, take off your tip, clean it, and introduce it back into the work. Okay? And this is with 330 degrees Celsius with the J-Series tip. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and let's put this back together because I think we're ready to do some testing. Now, from this point on, I want to leave the music off because, quite frankly, it's annoying me. And I want you guys to listen to me very carefully because I have some things that are important to say. Now, if you're worried about the note clean, like if you're worried about it calcifying or caramelizing, it's not a big deal. But like I said, as always, if it's something that bothers you, just take some IPA. I use 91%. Actually, I encourage you to only use IPA that's 91% or higher. And just go over your work. Just go over your work. It's not a big deal. Just hit it a few times. Hit it like it's, going out of style, whatever. And you're done. Now, let's reassemble this and let's see what happens. So I'm going to come right in here and I'm going to introduce our main board like so. I'm going to make sure it's in position. And we're going to take our electronic screwdriver. I'm going to just start driving these screws in. And always make sure that you back the screw out first before you insert it. That way you're falling into the same grooves and you're not constantly rethreading and boring out these bosses. Okie dokie. So here we go. One more. Okay, great. Now, that's all in position. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find our... where in God's name is it? Let's see. Yes, right here. We're going to be getting out our actual PS1Digital kit, which is right here, and right here, and right here. And we're going to be putting it into position. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove it from the packaging. We're going to remove this from the packaging. Okay, very good. There's our kit. Our little thermal pads on there. There's nothing really there to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to remove our 3D printed parts because we'll be using those. And these are the parts that we'll be using. This is what our HDMI port is going to be. I have to be perfectly honest with you. There are some of these that have come out and have come to me like this one. I'm not a fan of the quality. A lot of people aren't sticklers for this, but I am because I'm just weird about cosmetic things. So what I'm going to do, very simply, I'm going to keep these little standoffs. These little standoffs are important. And they're functional, they're structural, they're not something that's going to be aesthetically pleasing or required to be aesthetically pleasing. But this, I'm just going to throw this away. I'm going to throw that away. And let's see. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to supply a part that I've made. Okay? So here we have it. Here's just a nice part that I've made. It's just something I like to do for my customers because I have them. It's not a big deal. And it's just... even though it's the back of your console, nobody sees it. It's just, no thanks, okay? So here we have this. Let's put this together. Let's do it. Let's do it to it. Let's come right over here. Now we've got these two standoffs right here. This is where these spacers are going to live. Okay, so we have a standoff here, or these standoffs are going to live right here. That's what I meant to say, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take our HDMI kit, and we're just going to hover this on top. And it's going to bolt into place. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I get this cable inserted because it's just easier on me if I go ahead and do this. Okay? This cable too down here, I'm going to make sure, whoops, I want to make sure that this doesn't get stuck under because 9 out of 10 times it will. Just lift it up with your finger. Come here forward. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And just push it into place. I'm going to use something to sort of help me along here because I'm trying to do all this in front of the camera or under the camera and I can't really use my hands like I would normally be able to. So I'm just going to come right in here. I'm just going to lay this flat like that. Well, let me just do this off camera, guys. I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous to sit here for 30 minutes and try to do that. So let me just seat this cable in there. I really don't like the positioning of some of these. I do and I don't. I don't really think that it's the best. Okay, there we go. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got these two in there. I'm going to go ahead and just back this out a little bit so you can see what's going on. Okay, that should be pretty viewable. Okay, so I've got those two flex cables in position. I'm going to go ahead with my screws, and I'm just going to drive these in so that our board is secured. Let me do this off camera because I've got to be able to see this, guys. Sorry. Okay. Okay, there's one side. Okay, I'll just come right in here, do the other side. Okay, now that PS1Digital is in position, we have a flex cable down here that we need to affix into place. Okay, just like this. Well, uno momento. There we go. Get it seated. Get it in position like that. Okay, now the GPU flex cable. I want to show you guys something. It's a nice thing to have if it works, but for me, this little adhesive on the back, it never works. There's a little piece of adhesive here that you're supposed to peel off, okay? It peels off, and this is the actual DAC for the analog video, or the analog video. It's supposed to affix itself like so, and then you're supposed to bend this forward. This never has worked for me. This flex cable is always going to come up over time. It's just something that's going to happen, okay? So let's lift this up. And our flex cable is just going to live in this drawer like so. Lift it down. Now, if you want to kind of help it along, put a small crease right across, just so that it lays a little flatter. But that's the installation. Now, before we do anything else, let's hook up the HDMI, let's hook up the analog, and let's make sure that this kit is outputting digital video, digital audio, in addition to digital audio, or analog audio and analog video. So give me just 1 second. We'll do that. Oh, no, Daddy, no! Okay, let's just plug this in. Let's go to the lab modification scene, and let's see if this is going to work. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it isn't. That's why we test things. Okay, so let's just move over to our new game testing. Okay, now there are two windows here. The small window in the top left hand is going to be the analog video output, and the large window in the center, that should be our digital video output. So we'll test, of course, both the PS1Digital as well as the xStation. Let's do it. I'm sorry that's so loud. Okay, let's just make sure that we're booting into the menu. And we are. Great. Analog video is working, analog audio is working, digital video and digital audio are in great shape. Let's go ahead and take this apart. Now, here's the rule that I have. Give me just a second. Oh no, Daddy. No! No! Listen, when you get to this point, okay? When you get to this point, let me back this out. You should take this system as it is, and you should put it on the bench for an hour at minimum, 60 minutes. 60 minutes with this hardware can be the difference between a customer return and a happy, easy, painless transaction. Always let this run for an hour. It's not that these kits are prone to failing. They're not. It has nothing to do really with these kits. Two things. One, a little heat and a little time can show some flaws in your soldering. Something may work when you first turn it on. 15-20 minutes later, you may start getting some hang-ups. Number two, these systems are quite complicated and advanced. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of logic. The more complicated, the more prone things are to fail. These systems are known to just bite the dust. Okay, PS1s these days, a lot of this discrete logic and a lot of these ASICs, they can have trouble. Let it run for 60 minutes. Let's assume, though, that this is going to be fine. We're going to finish assembling this, and then I'm going to put it on the bench and test it for an hour, and then we're going to package this up. But let's just go ahead and let's finish putting this together. So this is, for the most part, working as far as we're concerned. Let's go ahead and let's just get it going. Okay, here we go. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just take our antennae, because we have to have an antenna, and we're going to put it in position. And this antenna is going to live on the outside of our top plate here. I just like to use something to help me evenly seat that in. No problem. Okay, this is our top plate that we did all the prep work to. The antenna is going to live right here through this hole, and the flex cable for the FFC for the xStation goes right through this slot. Make sure you do that. Okay, we're just going to drop this in very carefully. We're going to line everything up. And actually, I'm sorry, before we... I did that. I'm sorry. I put in all the screws. Okay. So I forgot that we put in all the screws already. I'm just making sure. Okay, so we're going to drop all this in. We're going to take our top plate just like this, and we're going to very carefully make sure that everything is being routed and pulled and not kinking as we put this plate right on the bottom, like so. Everything's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to look at this from the outside so that I can kind of see what's happening, and that looks great. Okay, nice and easy. Everything goes in. I'm just going to zip the 3 screws that hold the plate in. You'll notice these arrows. These arrows indicate that a screw is supposed to live there on both the PCB and on the metal housing. So I'm just going to go ahead, go to all the corners where we have a screw indication apparatus Unitarian. Okay, and I'm going to find where those live. One right over here. Okay, there's a little arrow. Just like that. Okay. Perfect. Now, let's go ahead and connect our controller, not our controller port, but our power and then our controller ports. Okay, we're going to take our antenna and we're going to pull the adhesive off of the back. And I'm just going to bring it right in here, and I like to let the antenna live right on the outside edge, just like that. That's where I like that to stay. Now we're going to talk about 3D printed mounts because that's kind of what we're doing. Greg Collins makes the best 3D printed mount for the PS1, for the PS1 xStation. It's great. There's also another really nice mount that I want to talk about that's free online on Thingiverse, and this port requires no card reader. This panel requires no card reader. It's actually quite ingenious. It utilizes it utilizes the mini micro SD port that's in the xStation. So let's just go ahead and kind of get this together. It's very simple to install. There's 2 pieces to the 3D printed mount. You have a piece that lives here like this, and then you have just the mount itself that lives on top, just like that. Okay. But before I do all of that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to route, okay, our FFC, and I'm going to put a mild little fold in, just like right here. Okay, and I'm going to bring our xStation into position. I'm going to grab this outside edge. Now watch this, very simple. The xStation, Mr. Newman did a great job. That's Rama. With this, that blue tab always faces up towards you. And it's just going to sit in here just like this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Just like that. Just like that. Beautiful. Beautifully done. Okay, now let me just sort of fix this up. Okay, now. You guys, I want you to see this because it's beautiful. Turn this off. That looks so dark now. I don't like that. That's better. Okay, so xStation is installed. The bracket underneath is installed. This mount, and it's just truly ingenious. I mean, it's really nice. It's a little more cumbersome to get the cards in and out, but it's less parts, which means it's a little cheaper. The mount fits on top just like this. Okay, whoops. Just like that. And check this out. I mean, it's not a big deal. Card lives in there, and you just... pretty nice. Pretty nice. Okay, wonderful. We're going to take our HDMI port that we're going to use. It's one that I've printed, and it also matches the customer's shell a little bit better. I tried to match that as best as I can, and it lives in there just like that. So we're going to move that, keep it in place there. I'm going to grab the shell. There's the back panel I told you to keep a hold of, and I'm just going to come in here like this. I'm going to have to get down with it, baby. And we're going to just put this in position like so. Now look at this. That looks pretty exceptional. I mean, you have to admit, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty darn good. Okay? Looks pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to zip all the screws in. And we're going to test it again. We're going to make sure everything works, and we're going to update the firmware. But ultimately, we're going to let this sit for 60 minutes. That's 60 minutes. Okay? 60 minutes. And we're going to make sure that it is in perfect operational order before it leaves this facility. Okay, sorry I jostled the camera, guys, because I've got about 1,000 more of these to do today and tomorrow and the next day. But I always want to make sure that they're thoroughly tested before ever leaving. Now here's that beautiful back panel. Just like this. Watch this very carefully, and boom goes the dynamite. What do you think about this port? I'm just curious about your thoughts. I mean, it's not a big deal. And I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings because it's not a big deal and it's nothing to get touchy about. But I look at the back of this console a lot. And just because it's in the back, I just, it's not a big deal to make one of these. So I just did it. It doesn't hurt either way. It doesn't hurt either way. I just, I'm weird about stuff, okay? I'm weird about stuff. So please don't get mad at me. Okay. Now, check this out. Is that not beautiful? Is that not just gorgeous? I think it looks exceptional. Okay? Now, let's put this back, let's update the firmware, and let's just make sure that everything is working appropriately. So, give me just a second, I'm going to move over. And I'm so sorry, I would link the Thingiverse link that would direct you to that mount. But you'll find it if you go there. You'll find it if you go to Thingiverse. If you're a 3D printing enthusiast and you have that sort of, if you have the hardware, it's right there. Greg Collins, though, God, his is so nice. It is super awesome, and it's what I prefer to use, personally. Okay, so let's just have relations with horses. No, that's not what I meant. Let's move over. Okay, so once again, the big video output is the PS1Digital. The small one is our analog from the OSSC. Let's turn this on, see if it works. Okay, here we go. Now I have the update file already on the SD card. I'm going to update this customer's... I'm going to update the firmware on the xStation. You just do that by hitting Options. And we're going to go down here to Update Firmware. Press Start to confirm. Don't open it. Don't do anything. The crackling is not anything to do with the mod. The crackling has to do with the crackling has to do with the way that the audio is being captured and being sampled through OBS with my audio capturing chain. Has nothing to do with anything. Okay. Let's see. There we go. That's just OBS. Okay, so let's just load up a game here. We'll load up Dildo Crisis, one of Bob's favorites, I should say. Guys, the xStation is fucking amazing. If there's any mod worth getting for the PlayStation, it's the xStation. Cheap, effective, flawless, damn near perfect compatibility. Now let's see, what is the keystroke to get into the PS1Digital menu? Does anyone remember? Anyone remember that? What is the damn... What is... L2, R2, triangle, square, circle, penis pumps? I don't remember. Can anybody look up the OSD menu? Let me look it up.
Okay, this is the first checkpoint. Playtime is officially over, kiddies.
Something's wrong. The lights in the guardhouse are out.
Maybe this has been a while.
Let's see,
now.
L2, R2, square, X, and start. There we go. Sorry about that. Okie dokie. So, everything is looking just fine. I think this defaults
Stay here.
to...
Leave the guards to me.
Yep, okay, that's all good. Somebody asked about gamma adjusting. Yes, you can absolutely manipulate the gamma and exposure of the video output before it ever hits your television. That's a pretty cool feature of the PS1Digital. The only thing that I'm not too sure of, if I remember correctly, they advertised or they mentioned that they would have... The only thing that I'm aware of that really hurts the PS1Digital is the lack of a motion adaptive deinterlacer. That's a big thing that the not the OSSC, but that the PS1Digital, to my knowledge, doesn't have. I think they advertised it or said that it was going to have it a couple of years ago, but I've not seen anything about it. Now, can anyone verify that? Because I don't want to say anything wrong. Or excuse me if I'm wrong about that. Does anyone know if I am wrong about that in life? Is the PS1Digital worth getting if you already have an OSSC? Here is my opinion. Okay, here is my opinion about all of these digital mods. If you're a diehard Nintendo 64 fan, if you're a diehard Dreamcast fan, if you're a diehard PlayStation 1 fan, if you're a diehard Xbox fan, these mods are phenomenal. They're absolutely worth every penny in price, and they have fantastic value and performance and quality. If you have a lot of systems and you have a really good video processor, such as an OSSC or a RetroTink 5X, I'm of the opinion that it's more cost-effective and more functional to let an external processor handle all of your video processing faculties, or putting all of your video processing faculties into an external device, rather than having all of these HDMI devices if you have a bunch of consoles. Me personally, I love the DC Digital because I like the Dreamcast. But my PS1Digital and my other stuff, my N64 stuff, that's all analog. To me, the differences between analog RGB being piped into a very competent video processor that's external against a digital video mod that's digital from the beginning and the end in the video in the pipelining, they're negligible. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. They both look phenomenal. For the value, an external processor to me is the way to go because I have a PS1, PS2, Dreamcast, NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, TurboGrafx 16, all of these things that rely on external processing. It's just more cost effective. However, if I was a big PS1 fan or if I was a big Xbox fan, first of all, I think the Xbox HD is probably the best mod that's ever happened for the Xbox. I think that it has phenomenal capabilities for video output. I think that it's very intelligently designed because the Xbox HD by Mega Butthurts is brilliant. It's brilliant because it's using the ASIC that's on the GeForce GPU to handle and address all of the video upscaling in the video pipeline on the chip. I, in my opinion, don't think that anybody is going to do better than what NVIDIA did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, as far as addressing video soft scaling and hardware scaling on their chips. I'm sorry. That product is phenomenal. But if you're fans of these systems and you only have a couple of them, get the digital mods. If you have a plethora of video game consoles, it's worth thinking about consolidating all your video processing to one device that's expensive, as opposed to having half a dozen devices on a console-by-console basis that can be super expensive. I mean, that's just my opinion. The PlayStation has a lot of interlaced content, and a motion adaptive deinterlacing, a motion adaptive deinterlacer would help this system tremendously. Think of the fighters. Tekken 3, for God's sakes. Tobal 2, Ridge Racer. All these titles that run in a 480i super resolution mode, that's what they call it. I don't think the best showing is on the PS1Digital right now. It could be if they could get that emotion. I think the motion adaptive deinterlacing, I know they talked about it a few years ago, or Dan did, or Christoph did. I think Christoph talked about it. Who's the actual designer of the PS1Digital. They were working on it. He was working on it. But now that they've got Woozle in their company, maybe they've just waited, and maybe they're still going to come out with it. I hope they do. That would be really, really awesome. Because I think the RetroTink 5X paired with the PS1, or the OSSC paired with the PS1, are great choices. I think the PS1Digital is a great choice. I think they're all great choices, but right now, motion adaptive deinterlacing is sort of like the bargaining chip for the PS1, because there are a lot of titles out there that could really benefit from that. In my opinion, in my personal opinion. That's what I have to say about it. Now, Swear Jonko says he might be misremembering, but he thought that there was a beta firmware for motion adaptive deinterlacing, or that it was in the works. Yes, Swear Jonge. That was my understanding too. I don't really remember the details, but I know that it was discussed. You guys want to know my personal opinion, like my super personal opinion? Fucking PlayStation with a GBSC is goddamn fucking phenomenal. The motion adaptive deinterlacing on that $30, $50 GBSC, unbelievable. Unbelievable performance. Excellent quality, virtually zero lag, very, very low lag. We're talking about a fraction of a frame, and it will literally breathe new life into your PS1, your PS2, and all of your 480i content. Okay. Anywho, guys, listen. I've got a lot of work to do. A lot of people messing this up, and I don't want you guys to mess this up. And I want you guys to learn how to do this yourselves. I think that it's important that people have all of the opportunities made available to them to improve themselves. And I just got so many messages and so many emails and so much contact concerning both the xStation and PS1Digital, where people were having trouble. They were having trouble with it. So I hope that this video helps. Even though I've labored on discussing this, I hope this helps. I hope this was helpful. Okay? I have to roll. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. I've got a lot of systems to do. You'll see some more consoles. You'll see some more. You'll see a lot more. Maybe we'll do some repair work. Maybe we'll do some more reworking. We're going to do a bunch of stuff very soon. But I've got to get to work. I've got a bunch of systems to do. I've got a lot of customers that have been waiting on me. Lieutenant Commander Voultar has got to get busy. So guys, thank you. God bless you and God bless your families. Take care of yourselves, and if you ever need anything, if you ever try to reach me and you have trouble with that stupid ticketing system, or if you have trouble with email, voultar@gmail.com, and also Twitter me. Always Twitter me. Send me a message, or if you can't send me a message, tweet at me, and I will get back to you, okay? I'm getting all this stuff ready for you, and I'm not horny for you, but I'm horny for your friendship. Okay, guys, take care. God bless. Take it easy. Until next time.